Welcome, everybody, to Midday Magazine for this Wednesday, October 30th, 2024. I have your host, James J. Malouf here. Joining us right now, our good friend, Wood County Clerk Trent Miner in studio. Trent, good to see you.
Nice seeing you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate the time, as always. Know how busy you are, especially this time of year. So thank you so much for being able to join us today. We're going to go through kind of a checklist, if you will, about voting, what you need to know, what you should have in place before November 5th. But before we do that and get into absentee balloting and some other notes, we did want to start somewhere at a really important place here, Trent.
Yeah, recently, when I started working elections, it was 30-some years ago, and the county clerk at the time was Tony Rush. Tony recently passed away at the age of 97, and really, Wood County owes him a huge debt of gratitude for the systems that he was very forward-thinking when it came to elections. The systems we have in place now are really thanks to Tony, and then my predecessor, Cindy Seapress, and myself, we just keep adding to it and making it better. So our condolences to his family and his wonderful wife. But yeah, Tony really, he's missing it. I know he is, but he's watching from upstairs and making sure we're doing everything right. So we miss him.
We appreciate his service to our community and the work that he put in. A trailblazer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, he just loved, he breathed local government. I mean, he was Town of Siegel chairman for a number of years, town clerk. He was on the county board for 13 years and then was county clerk for 19. I mean, the guy just bled local stuff. And I always went to Tony whenever I needed something historical answered. Yeah, he's my man. And there's actually one time this past week when it's like, oh, I wonder what that is, who this was and what. Just about reached for the email because Tony would check his iPad religiously. I reached for the email. It's like, oh, doggone it.
Yeah.
The email isn't going to make it there this time. So, yeah, we miss him.
We appreciate everything he did, the work that he did to where we can get to the place we are now with
Absolutely.
this. Where I've never... So I come from a very political family. I especially growing up in Chicago, where politics, you know about that, like you know your sports teams.
Yeah.
And certainly have been voting since I was 18, and a proud member of the proud ability of being able to do that. I've never felt more confident going into an election when it comes to my vote. I've never not felt confident about it, I should say. But with all the talk of this that you and I don't shy away from or anything, and everybody knows what I'm referring to there, with all that out there, that has put such a microscope on so much of our election process, which in some ways I'm proud of and I'm thankful for, because I don't mind checks and balances anymore. I'm sure that you don't or anybody
Absolutely.
does in this process. So it's never a bad idea to do that, and I think that there's been some things that have been brought up and that have done that have enhanced the process, and as far as the trust and the strength we feel in this. But I also feel this way because I trust my community. I trust my neighbors. I trust the people in my community. I trust the people in the surrounding communities. I don't necessarily. We don't all play for or want for the same sports team to win or something like that, or come from the same high schools or some of those things. But at the end of the day, I trust that my fellow citizens, my fellow Americans, we're all on the same page when it comes to democracy. We all believe in a democracy, in living in a democracy.
Exactly. And just the changes, like I mentioned, I've been doing this for a number of years. The changes that have come through just in my career in working in elections, it doesn't seem that long, and I don't think it is. It's 30-some years. But, I mean, look at the changes that have come into place. I mean, photo ID and all these different checks and balances that were not there when I started. We literally had a poll book that you didn't have to register in the smaller townships. You just, the neighbor showed up and you had an old poll book and you wrote down their name, you wrote down their address, and how you doing? And you had no idea if they moved or if they didn't move. They didn't have to register or anything like that. So those checks and balances, while yes, they're good things to make sure that everything is on the up and up, are good things that have happened over the past 30 years to enhance that level of comfort for everybody. Absolutely.
Trent, let's get into a bit of a checklist, if you will, of things that people should know going into the election on November 5th. There's certainly one of the number one things we like to bring up, and we bring up on our morning shows all the time, making sure that you're registered.
Absolutely. Making sure you're registered. If you're not registered, you can do so on Election Day. Plan on a little bit of a wait, but you can certainly do that. Make sure you're bringing along proof of residency, such as your driver's license if it has your current address, or a utility bill, those types of things, making sure that we have that proof of residency. Also, photo ID. This isn't a new thing anymore. Bring a driver's license or passport along so that we see that it's you as you, so to speak. Make sure you have that with you as well. The lines shouldn't be just all that horrible around Wisconsin Rapids. We've seen, we're in the middle of in-person absentee voting right now, and that has just been phenomenally busy the past week and a half, to where, like, in the town of Grand Rapids, I just ran the report this morning, over 40% of their registered voters have voted already absentee.
Wow.
Wow. That's just a lot of people coming through the doors. So those people aren't going to be there on Election Day. So I'm not anticipating huge, long lines on Election Day because we've had that in-person absentee voting and the mail-in absentee voting going on already.
And you know what? I want to. We'll get back to the checklist in a second, but you bring that up, and I think that's a great point to branch off of from that, because we hear a lot about in-person absentee voting, and I don't feel like we talk on the positives of it nearly enough. We have it for a reason. When we're able, there's many people out there, especially in an election like this, that well before there were any debates or anything like that, people had their minds made up. So if that is the case, and you are informed and you are registered, why not be able to get that vote in before November 5th? Certainly, to be able to, you never know what can come up, and I don't have to go down the rabbit hole of that.
Right.
But also for our election workers, for our staff, we don't get reminded of this nearly enough. I don't even know. I don't want to say the percentage, but there is a wild amount of the percentage of people that are working on Election Day are volunteers. And we want to get them back to their lives. We want to be able to get this democracy running and get this process done right. But we want to be able to, we appreciate their time. I've got a daughter who is going to be up in Point doing this. She's 8 months pregnant, and she's still going to be out there doing this.
Oh, bless her heart.
I want her getting home at a good time. And obviously I'm being a little selfish about this. But in all seriousness, we want our citizens to be able to get home. We want to be able to get results as fast as possible. All of these things, in-person absentee balloting is one of the major positives to it, is that it helps with this process.
And absolutely. And the same checks and balances that we have on Election Day are there during in-person absentee voting. You're still stating your name. You're still stating your address. And this is all open to the public to watch this whole process. You want to sit in City Hall or Town of Grand Rapids Hall all day and watch the process, you're more than welcome to. It's very much like a mini Election Day. You're showing that photo ID, stating your name and address, and then taking your ballot, and instead of putting it in a machine, you're going to put it in an envelope. You're going to sign it, and your witness is going to sign it, that you is you, and you're the one that filled out the ballot. And then those don't get open until Election Day. So that's a little bit different in Wisconsin than other areas. Those absentee votes do not get processed until Election Day. They're going to sit in the safe at the clerk's office, and then they will process those between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. on Election Day. So our election workers are still, it's either on the front half or the back half, but we still need as many election workers as we have, because either they're dealing with people that are coming in the door on Election Day, or they're going to be processing those absentee ballots. It's going to be a busy day. 80-90% turnout is well within the realm of probability. It's going to happen. I would anticipate going over the 90% in Wood County. We usually do.
That's a great note to everybody, whether you're an election worker or you're going out there and voting on November 5th. We've seen in the last couple of elections record results of people coming out and voting. Something to keep in mind with that.
Yes.
Getting back to the checklist, we mentioned making sure that you are registered to vote. You can do that at myvotewi.gov. That is certainly a great resource. You can find that through the Civic Media website, if not through that website in itself. Making sure you're registered, I would say certainly understanding what is on the ballot. That is probably one of the next steps to do.
Absolutely. And My Vote is the premium website in the nation for finding that information out. Literally, you put your name and birthday in there, or your address, and you're going to know what's on your ballot. Understand that this ballot that you're going to be looking at is a two-sided ballot. We have some referendum questions from the state and various local governments and school districts on there. So you're going to see a list of candidates candidates on the front side of the ballot. On the back side, you're going to see those referendum questions. So be mindful of that. Your election workers will be telling you about that. But yeah, being prepared, knowing what you're doing. Registration, again, you can check that on My Vote, but call your municipal clerk or even the county clerk. We'd be happy to look it up in the system and, hey, are you registered in Wisconsin Rapids? Nope. Your previous address? Okay. These are the steps you're going to need to take before Election Day to make sure you get registered.
Trent, I'm wondering, do you mind if we discuss what is going to be on the ballot outside of certainly the candidates and everything, the referendums, if you will?
Sure. The referendums on the backside. There is a state question on this election ballot, and I'm not going to get into yes, no, or otherwise. That's for you guys to decide and do your homework on. But it has to do with citizens voting in elections. Should only U.S. citizens vote? That's on the ballot. A couple school districts are going for revenue limits. City of Marshfield, or Marshfield School District, is going for a pretty good sized general obligation note to update their schools. Pittsville School District's going for some additional funding over their revenue limits. And then we see a lot. I mean, I think it was like City of Wisconsin Rapids certainly has their ATV ordinance that's coming up. That's a big one out there, whether or not you want the city streets opened up to UTV, ATV traffic. That's going to be a big draw too. We're seeing a lot in the smaller townships, and this is the method they have to go through, of making their clerk and or treasurer positions either elected or appointed. In order to make them go from elected to appointed, that has to be a referendum. And I think I've got 6 municipalities who really struggle and try to find people to run for public office, to do that public service. They struggle to find people to run. So the ability to be able to appoint allows them a bigger pool of candidates. You can go outside the municipality to find those, but we're seeing a lot of municipalities go in that direction. And like I said, 5 or 6 referendums on this ballot alone in those municipalities.
Thank you for that, Trent. Appreciate the breakdown. And you can certainly look more into those and find out what's on your ballot specifically, the details more of that at myvote.wi.gov. There's a great section of, hey, what's on my ballot? And you can just type in your address and it'll pop right up for you. I tried it out this morning. I've done it before. Yep. And it just couldn't be an easier website to maneuver and work and find out that information.
Very much so. Yeah, it's a great website. Has added benefits and features. You could actually register online. We're past that date now. You have no choice but to register in the clerk's office up until this Friday or at the polls on Election Day. But that My Vote throughout the year is a great website to take a look at anything election related.
We're speaking with Wood County Clerk Trent Miner, and Trent, kind of wrapping up the checklist, if you will. I would say that one of the things that I've heard recommended before is a reminder about, Election Day. I think that sounds a little crazy to you and I. Like, how could you forget? Of course, this is a Super Bowl for some of us and
right.
everything. But when it comes to how crazy and busy life can get, and while you can make plans for November 5th, as my Nana would like to remind everybody, if you want to make God laugh, make plans. You just never know what's going to happen.
Right.
So that, of course, certainly absentee balloting, in-person balloting, and some of that comes into play with that. But also the idea of have a plan in place, maybe have a reminder set up, if you will, but maybe have a backup plan as well. And maybe it may seem, well, it's Election Day. I'll be fine. I'll have plenty of time. It's the polls are open all day and everything. This is too important to leave up to chance. This is too important to leave up to just having one plan. Just my opinion. I think it's good to have a plan B, maybe even a plan C on that one.
Absolutely. Have a plan. Have a plan. But understand there are state statutes that will guide that plan as well. In-person absentee voting in the city and some of our big municipalities, that will end on Friday. In our smaller areas, if there's appointments that you can make with your town clerks that don't have regular office hours, that can go up through Sunday. But understand that after Sunday, Monday, nothing happens. I mean, and that's by design. Everybody's getting ready. Our people, the municipal clerks, poll workers, they're getting the polling place set up. We're getting ready for go time on Tuesday. So Monday, nothing happens. So have a plan, but understand there are state statutes and there are guidelines, not guidelines, there are laws that will dictate when we can do things and when not. So yeah, like you said, have a plan, understand what the laws are, and if you have any questions, give your municipal clerk a call or give my office a call, and we'll help you through that.
When it comes to mail-in voting, Trent, when is the cutoff, if you will, for that? And I know there can't be an exact date with our mail system, but I would say a ballpark on
Well, and the mail system, so the last day to request a mail-in ballot is Thursday at 5 p.m. That's the last point that a regular voter can do that. That's too late. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's not going to make it through the mail system. So really, if you're out there now and you're thinking about voting absentee, I would highly recommend the in-person absentee, because the mail system the way it is, and I'm not faulting the Postal Service or the employees at all, but it's just not going to make it back. It's not going to make it to you. You're not going to be able to vote it and then get it back to the municipal clerk's office by election day. So in-person absentee voting is really good. If you do want it mailed to you, you may want to have a plan to return it to the polling place on election day. That's certainly an option out there, but understand that it has to be the voter returning it. I mean, your husband isn't going to be able to take, the husband is not going to be able to take the wife's ballot back, or stupid husbands aren't going to be able to give it to their wife and say, here, take care of this, and send that back to them. No, it does have to be the voter, unless there is a reason that they are not able to, such as handicap or something like that. So just keep that thought process in mind as you make your plans going forward.
And I want also people to keep in mind a couple of other things. One, Trent touched on this earlier. If you have questions, if you are uncertain about things, come on down. Come on down and check this out. This is a transparent situation.
Oh, absolutely.
It couldn't be more transparent. If you are wondering, well, it's this side or that side, we got people on all sides of the aisle being a part of this. Representative Krug joins us once a month, and Scott has been talking a lot about this process and how encouraged, how much he's actually enjoyed seeing this process and everything, and been blown away by all the workers, all these volunteers, and everything that goes into this. This is something that you can trust in. This is something that you can believe in. Not only do I put my name on that, but others in this community, other leaders in this community do. And trust your community, believe in your community. And if you have questions, that's cool. Come on down, show up. And to extension of that, if you really want to, if you really have curiosity, I say be a part of things. Volunteer.
Absolutely, and I've said that to more than one person. You distrust the process, then I want to see your backside in the seat. Get in the chair. Work this thing, and then you can see that process inside and out. So and we're always looking for poll workers. Whether or not you get to work on a certain election you want to, up in the air. But certainly, we're always looking for poll workers. So absolutely, it is completely transparent. And I tell you, when we go through like county clerk training, now county clerks are political office. We run under a party. We're on the ballot this month, or in this election. But when we get into those trainings, there is no politics. I mean, we're there to learn and understand and learn from each other. I know every county clerk in the state. I know all 72 of them now because of the position I'm in as president of the association. But they are principled people. They want to do what's right. We're looking for the laws we're looking at the laws to understand those and to make sure that this process runs as smoothly and transparently as possible. So I trust every one of the county clerks. I trust every county in the state that we're going to pull off an outstanding election. Yeah. And it's going to be close. There's no question it's going to be close. Mm-hmm. My concern now is, how close is it going to be, and am I going to be eating turkey in the courthouse on Thanksgiving because we might be in the middle of a recount? So that's a consideration post-election.
We'll make sure that you got plenty of sides if that happens. You and everybody over there. Trent, as we're wrapping up, you touched on this. You mentioned a little bit. If people would like to be a part of, volunteer, help out in any way they can. We're still looking for all hands on deck. How can people find out and be a part of things?
Through their municipal clerk. And if you don't know who that is, give my office a call at 715-421-8460, and my staff and myself will make sure you know who your municipal clerk is. But even if you can't work it, observe it. If there's a question, we have observer stations set up at every municipal or every polling place in the county, in the state. So come and just witness that process. Be kind, be nice, don't be disruptive, but get your questions answered. Mm-hmm. And as they have time, everybody out there is more than happy to talk elections with you and discuss the process.
And you teed me up perfectly, because that's where I wanted to wrap up, and being kind to each other. To your fellow citizens when you're standing in line or you're waiting to go vote, to the workers, the poll workers, and the different people that are there, treating them with respect and everything, and treating the process with some respect. Don't let it be lost on any one of us how lucky and how fortunate we are to live in this country, to live in a democracy, to have options, to have being able to choose between these things, being able to do these things willingly. For one, we are not forced to vote. Our vote counts. We're able to vote. There are so many things that around the world, you don't have to look very far, around the world, they don't have a lot of this stuff. We're able to do this, and we're able to do it because we do this together. We are stronger and better together. Treat each other with respect. We have this happen all the time. You walk past somebody and they've got an opposite sports team jersey on or something like that. You don't get out. You just keep walking. You just keep walking. That's all you got to do in this situation. Just keep kill them with kindness. Treat each other with respect. Kill each other with kindness in that way.
At Lambeau Field, you see those. The opposing team will come in, and what respect that the Green Bay Packer fans will show those people is something that the other side comments on all the time. You see that in the news media all the time, how wonderful the Green Bay Packer fans are. So, and again, it's a great country where we can disagree, but not be disagreeable about it.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this nation great.
We've got the whole world watching us and waiting to see how this happens. And so many of them are sitting back eating their popcorn, waiting for an explosion or something like that. Let's show them what we really are made of. Let's show them how well we can pull off a democracy and be what this is all about. Be a light to the rest of the world, and that democracy can work in other parts of the country, in other parts of the world that it may not have it. Be good to each other out there, and let's have a good election.
I'm looking forward to it. You hear about the security concerns, and and I try not to listen to the news because I need to deal with just what I'm dealing with.
Yes.
And you listen to the news, and that's just not something I'm expecting here in Wood County. I mean, we really we're blessed here in this area, that our poll workers and our municipal clerks are all on. We just want a good election, a good, clean, transparent election. That's all we're after, regardless of what side you're on.
You can find out more at myvote.wi.gov, myvote.wi.gov. And again, if you're on the Civic Media website, you can find a link right there to it. Trent, if people do have follow-up questions or want to volunteer or know more, how can they reach you and your staff?
Yeah, give me a call at our office at 715-421-8460, and we will get you all the information that we can get you.
Cannot thank you enough for the time, and certainly, Trent, on a personal level, I always love talking with you. Appreciate that brain of yours and all the work you put into this community. Thank you for that. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You and your staff. I wish you guys a good November 5th, a good election.
Thank you.
We'll have more Midday Magazine for you right here at 97.5 FM, 1320 AM, WFHR, locally grown radio.